Well, folks, hello. We're going to work today a little bit on some case briefs. These are cases that we've already been posting on, a few of them, and some of them are a little newer. Let me look at this one first, and I got to get down to find it. It's the Shelby County versus Holder. We've been talking about it in the context of the Voting Rights Act was struck down. So of course first, put my name and my private email up on here if you're trying to reach me. It's just robdawalt@me.com. And then, like I said, voting rights. And what we're looking at is the Holder case. And it's, I think, called Shelby County versus Holder. And that case number is so new, there's no page number yet. It's B570 US, but we don't know yet what the page number will be because it's not published yet. So 570 US and then 2013 would be the way to cite it if you're really wanting to cite it correctly. What we have here is in the 60s, Lyndon Johnson actually worked up an act, and this was going to be his mark on history, was the Great Society, and so he's going to straighten out a lot of this. And so he was a Democrat. Of course, the bad thing about Lyndon Johnson is that he had a pretty influential part in starting our role in Vietnam. There's even those that speculate that if John F. Kennedy had survived, that there wouldn't have been a Vietnam War. And so that's one of the things that is discussed is, and all these presidents, you'll find they did a lot of bad things, they did a lot of good things. Nixon, of course, was totally broken down by the fact of the Watergate situation, and that was not good. But then at the same time, he also opened up relations with China for the very first time. Of course, Clinton and his sexual escapades, but he was also very influential in the work that was done on the budget, balance the budget, welfare reform, many things that he did that were very beneficial. So basically on this thing then, from 1965 until this year, 2013, the Civil Rights Act was in place, and there were two parts. There's a Section 5, which prohibits eligible districts from enacting changes to election laws without gaining official authorization from the federal government. There's a Section 4B, which defines the different eligible districts, and that started in November of 1964. And so what they're trying to do is improve minority voting in the South. And a lot of the abuses and things that they had down there, there's many things. For one thing, they knew a lot of blacks rode the bus, so they would move the election polls off the bus route. They would change the requirements for blacks, that they had to pass an IQ test. They would change the requirements that they would have to pay a fee called a poll tax. And the thing with that was, it was individually, they were saying that everybody was required to pay it, but the fact was, on the local level, some of these really bad people, racist type people, would wink at the whites and they wouldn't have to pay the poll tax, they wouldn't have to pass a literacy test, whereas the blacks would all have to pay the poll tax and pass the literacy test. And that's what it is. There's just a really kind of a hidden type of discrimination. And that, folks, is still present today. We still see that in a lot of places where they can't press the influence in the open, so now they do it in a hidden way. And I brought that up in one of my posts that I talked about when my wife was taking the kids. We were going to Florida to go to Disney World, and we stopped down there in the south somewhere, and the kids had to go to the bathroom. I was filling the car up with gas. So I went in and paid, came back, didn't pay much attention, so I'm leaving, and the girls are laughing, and my wife and everybody, and they're laughing, and I said, well, what happened? And my wife said, well, they had a sign on the ladies' room that said, out of order. So I went up front and said, is there any other restroom? These little girls really have to go to the bathroom. And they said, oh, honey, that's just for the colored folks. You can go ahead on and use the bathroom. So, they were being very selective on who they were allowing even to use their bathrooms. So that's the type of stuff, very pervasive, very hidden. And so we say, oh, things are better now, well, because it's hidden. You can't see it as well. But believe me, if you're black, you're experiencing it. Okay, so the issues then became that the Republican side of the Supreme Court determined that there was not the compelling reasons that there used to be. Their view of it is, well, we've eradicated racism in the United States, which is not necessarily so, as I just pointed out. And then Justice Ruth Ginsburg, who is a Democrat, argued vehemently that the 14th and 15th Amendment requires federal involvement in the voting process in the South, because no matter what, this stuff still pops up, even if it is very quiet and kind of under the table. They pointed out that certain states like South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida have passed these really restrictive laws. They said there's been over more than 50 pieces of legislation. And I know that some of you have even argued in your forums that there is voter fraud, and there is. I'm not saying that there isn't, but I showed you that there's something like 130 million voters in the United States, and if you dig and look real hard, you might find 1,000 cases. So that's like 0.07% of all cases involve voter fraud. So it's a very small problem. Under most circumstances, nothing would be done when it comes to other issues. So people are making a mountain out of a molehill, is what I'm saying. And the bigger issue is, let's let everybody vote. And if there are a few people, we'll just have to keep doing what we're doing. It's just like somebody goes to the grocery. Are you going to assume that they're shoplifting? The biggest problem that we had in all of my retail experience was employee theft, not so much shoplifting. So those are some important considerations. Well, hey, I hope that you understood what I was talking about, and I hope you appreciate the importance of this case. The court, as I said, the majority did rule in favor of doing away with the Section 4 part of the Voting Rights Act, and basically when you take out 4, it guts 5. There's really no purpose in having 5 because you have to have 4 to make 5 work. So basically, effectively, the Voting Rights Act is dead. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with another one very shortly.